Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today, we are discussing the soon-to-be discontinued Audemars Piguet Royal Oak 15202ST, also known as the Jumbo, the direct descendant of the 1972 Royal Oak 5402. This is the watch exactly as Gerald Genta envisioned it. So 39 millimeters in stainless steel. This watch is ultra thin. For an automatic, 8.2 millimeters thick, and from lug tip to lug tip, the case itself is 48.6 millimeters. The plots, the little intermediate links, they actually flare out rigidly 51.5 millimeters across the wrist. So I always recommend to people, consider these Royal Oaks about a size or two larger than they are, as this watch wears a little bit more like a 41 millimeter round watch on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist. So I would recommend this watch for a wrist as small as about 14 centimeters circumference, maybe 13 and a half if your wrist is more oval than round. Now taking a look, it lives up to its billing. It is ultra thin, very flat, sits almost lower than my wrist hair, easily slides underneath the cuff. From side to side, you can see I've got a little bit of clearance, and you can see that from the top as well. Taking a quick look at the bracelet. Yes, you can get a Royal Oak with a strap, but you're kind of missing out. The Royal Oak was designed to be integrated with its bracelet, and the bracelet by itself takes 9 to 11 hours to hand finish. So a lot of what you're paying for when you buy one of these watches is the hand finishing of the bracelet. You can see there's a lot of intricate detail, including the polished ends of the intermediate links that sit inside the assembly. You have the satination across the top, which is longitudinal, and then the vertical satination on the edges of the links. You can also see that there is a bevel that runs down the shoulder of the lugs and then perfectly aligned across the shoulder links. The bracelet is fixed to the case using screws and bars, which inspires confidence. That is how an expensive watch should be built. I don't love spring bars on luxury watches. I do love this screw-fixed solution. You can see that removable links are fixed by screws, so you can size this watch using a simple jeweler's screwdriver. We have a robust contemporary twin-fold clasp that's satinated inside as well as media blasted, and it is a sequential close, as you can see. One side closes before the other. Twin trigger release. This is a redoubtable clasp. This would feel at home on a 15500 or even on an offshore, so you have a great deal of security with that clasp. Rolling back to the case, you can see that this is one of the older monoblock case construction watches. This is an H series model, and in about 2017, Audemars Piguet made the watch cheaper by going to a three-part case with a bezel, a mid-case, and then a separate case back. The mid-case here and the case back are all one piece, milled out together. That's how the Royal Oak was designed by Genta, but in time, Audemars Piguet decided that to make more of them faster and cheaper, it would have a three-piece case. Well, this is the old school. This is the way the master intended it. This is the way it should be. You can also see that there are beautiful character lines that continue through the edge of the bezel and then through the mid-case and case back. So there's a lot of design coherence and cohesion here. There's also a hexagonal push-down crown. It's a 50-meter water resistance rating. Hexagonal to match the hexagonal white gold bolts that sit inside the bezel. The bezel is a rounded octagon, originally inspired by a vintage diving helmet. You can see it's actually satinated on its outermost face, then polished, and then on its top it has a vertical satin grain. These little hex bolts, and they are bolts, that's how they're aligned. They are made of white gold, and you can see the difference between the silver of polished and satinated steel and the warmer tone of the white gold inside the steel. The dial is the Petite Tapisserie, the small hobnail, and it's created the old-fashioned way on a pantograph since 2012, and this is the post-2012 dial version of the 15202. We've had these dials made in-house by AP. They use their own pantograph, a mimicry lathe from the 19th century. It takes a big pattern of the hobnail and then engraves it on a brass plate to create the dial you see here, which is then galvanized blue, the most exclusive and sought color on these watches, and those are generally distributed through premier retailers or, for the most part, Audemars Piguet factory boutiques. That's where you get those blue dials. Now you can see white gold hands and white gold hour indices and white gold AP logo. Post 2012, we have the signature down at 6 o'clock again. We don't have the Arabic numerals outboard of the hours, and we have a date disc that now matches the color blue of the dial. We'll do a quick loom shot here. And you can see it is well loomed. Now it's 50 meters water resistant with a push down crown, so I consider this a splash and rain only watch, not a swimmable watch. Because it uses a legacy caliber, The watch has a semi-quickset function. I'll demonstrate how that works. This is caliber 2121. It's based on the JLC 920 that was developed for AP, Patek, and Vacheron. JLC gave it to them in 1967, and it was only ever used by those brands. JLC never built a watch with the 920. So you can see it has a semi-quickset where you back out from midnight down to about 9 o'clock, and you sort of ratchet the date forwards, and that's how you make all of the adjustments. The movement, caliber 2121 on the reverse side, is JLC based, but now built in-house at Audemars Piguet, and it has a 40-hour power reserve. It winds unidirectionally, pivots on 36 jewels. It beats away at the vintagey rate of 19,800 vibrations per hour, and it has a Gyromax-style free-sprung balance to take and hold a precise adjustment, and make it a little bit more contemporary and rugged. We have 4 ruby rollers at the corners of the movement that hold this beryllium ring that runs all the way around the bridges, and that actually supports the rotor, so in conditions of shock or concussion, the rotor won't come in contact with the base plate or the bridges. So that's the idea for having that full annular beryllium ring. Of course, you can see the level of finishing here is high, and indeed it is the level of finishing that generally slows the production of this model, as the degree of beveling, Côte de Genève, and screw finishing that we have on this particular reference movement is going to be at a higher level than what you get on a standard mass-produced AP like a 3120, a 4302, or a 4401. This really is a high horology, hand-finished movement, and the scarcity, the uniqueness, a lot of that comes from the degree to which it is finished. I should also mention that the base movement is only 2.4 millimeters thick, which is how the watch achieves its exceptionally slim profile. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.